I don't think there's a sector with bigger demand and more horrendous delivery. When that's the case, Rich, we know big opportunity, don't we?
We do, yes.
Have you ever been to a children's party?
As an adult?
As an adult?
Once. Yes, once or twice. I remember one in Brighton not too long ago, like 6 or 7 year old. It was bedlam.
I've been to, I would say, because in our family, one of my roles is the children's parties. I go to those because
sacrificed.
Yeah, just sent into the front lines because Lindsay,
no soldier left behind.
Soldier sent in and blown to kingdom come. Lindsay hates children's parties, doesn't like screaming children, doesn't like bedlam. She basically has a pathological need for control and order, and these parties are the opposite of that. In terms of as a business opportunity, though, it's a massive market. Do you know how many children are born every year in the UK?
Absolutely no idea.
600,000. Right?
Okay, and how many people have we got in the country? Like 65 million or something?
Yeah, it's like 1% added or something.
Yeah.
Okay. The party market, let me just give you my experience of what it's like going to a kid's party. It is...
Make this funny, come on. I'll challenge you, because there's got to be loads of material.
I mean, the children's party market is... Basically, it's normally like an add-on. So there'll be a venue. You've really got a couple of options. There's a venue that just does general shit, like trampolining. And then what they'll do is they'll say, for £300, you can just have a kid's party. And what that really means is you can just use the facility and then they'll put you in a room for half an hour and serve you some like pizza. That's their model, really.
It's not that expensive, surely.
Yeah. It is. Because you've got 15 kids, you've got their entry fees, you've got and then the little party room and the host. I mean, it's kind to call them a host. But anyone that's been on the kids' party circuit, and if you there are people I've been on circuit.
It, like a Guns N' Roses tour. Yeah, okay, tour with vans. Yeah, okay, go on.
Or the other option is you self-serve, so you do your own party, which we have done, where you either do it at your house or you rent a leisure centre or community centre, and you kind of do it that way.
Yeah,
fine. There's sometimes.
For anyone who's listening without audio, Doug's just headbutted his mic and then paused, slightly spooked about what to do next. Like, fuck, I think I fucked it, Rich, because the start of this pod is just buzzing. The start of this pod is on fire and Doug's fucked it by hitting his microphone.
Right, so kids party market, the experience, like it, I mean, kids like it, but they would literally like anything. Where I think there's a huge gap in this market is for a specific venue that is just purposed just for kids' parties. I've not come across this. So you've got, on some industrial unit somewhere, you literally create this kids' party nirvana. And what it does is you can purpose it into different parties. So it can do like a football party, a princess party, a slime party, whatever. But it is just parties, and you just get the whole venue, and then you do your party. And you just make it really fucking good. Like, they're not good. There is no consideration to these parties generally. So like, you have really good music playing. You have like a really good quality host that's engaging with the children. Sometimes you get that, but often you don't. All of the games are really well structured. There's really cool, like, the venue's good, like the lighting pings around. people have got great outfits. Like if it's a dinosaur one, you've actually got genuinely good dinosaur outfits, not like some shit little hat eBay that someone's put on that's cost like 40 quid off Temu or eBay. So like you're basically saying, look, we're going to up the kids party game 10x. Not only that, but you're going to have like healthy food options, because we basically poison children at these parties.
Okay.
And you're going to make a ton of cash you're going to have a beautiful parent zone where you're selling, roasted coffee, nice wraps, probably alcohol.
Yeah, there's the trick. So basically you come up with this idea to save your soul as Lindsay sends you into the breach, to go to another kid's party.
I think it's probably too late for me now. But yeah, I've been to so many. But like you could make, £100, £150 you could take on the little cafe, because the parents are, charge them £7 for a nice Belgian lager to just anaesthetise themselves to what they're experiencing. But the final thing I'll say that there is a huge demand for these. Everyone does them, and it's very hard to actually book something that's any good. Like the stuff is booked up miles in advance. So, Rich, kids parties. We'll talk in a second about how we're going to scale this. How do you feel about this? I mean, this is basic.
I mean, but it's riddled with risk assessment. You've also just basically promoted parents drinking and driving to an industrial estate. It's just, challenging at its best. And you said Belgian lager, which are notorious for being strong. So I think it's good. It's good, solid stuff. I can understand the numbing, the pain. Look, the key thing, I used to work in a wacky warehouse. That's not the key thing, actually. I jumped too quickly. I used to work in a wacky warehouse, which was one of these soft play, absolute hellholes attached to a pub, right? And I used to have to do the kids' parties. And I would only get by basically stealing Maltesers and kind of getting sort of fat. The challenge is, like, what on earth do you use that space for? Like, this was a soft play thing. This thing had like £100,000 worth of like gear in it. Right, which means that was the type of party you did. It was a soft play party. It was this, was that. When I was younger, I used to go to one called Pirates Deep in Brighton. So my issue is the theming of it. How do you make it different? If it's going to be just dedicated to soft play or dedicated to those climbing frames, fine. But you've got a space. It takes a lot of creativity to make that space entertaining to kids. So my biggest issue is, what do you actually do with that, and how can you make it multi-thematic? Yeah, I want to know that first. Come on, bright eyes. What's the answer to that?
I mean, one of the big issues is that, like, anywhere you're going now, like, people do these in like halls in leisure centres, so the starting bar is pretty low. I think there'd be an element.
300 quid to go into a hall in a leisure centre with like a few bits of crepe paper and a couple of hoops on the floor, are you?
Yeah, you are, because you've got to rent. I mean, you've got to rent the hall, and then you've got to get the entertainer, unless you're going to do it yourself, which is not an option. You've got to get your entertainer, which is a couple of hundred, and then you've got to buy all your food and all of that. 300 is like conservative. How am I going to multi-purpose it? Yeah, you're going to have some soft play. You're going to have a soft play zone. You're going to have a zone where they can all sit up with a nice table. You're going to have a kind of open, like you'll probably have a football pitch in there that they can use. You'll have you'll have a little table zone where they can do all of their kind of slime and that kind of thing. Because some of the parties will be slime parties or Lego parties. So you just have these various zones, and they won't all be on all of the time.
Okay.
But what you're going to do to really juice it is you're going to have, like, the lighting's going to be key. And then so for, like, your princess parties, you're going to have the lighting's going to be low, and then you're going to project princesses around the outside. So, yeah, you need a little bit of thought into, like, purposing it. And you probably have, like, 4 themes, 4 options.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really don't like it.
No, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. I'd rather.
Good.
I'd rather much rather run a dry cleaning business than doing this. But
because
that doesn't.
let's look about it seriously as challenge. One, it's high capital intensive, right? You've either got to buy a warehouse space or rent one on a super long lease, because no one's going to do that on commercial property if you don't. Secondary to that, I would imagine the staffing of this, like entertainers and that kind of stuff, is going to be fairly transient, I would think. So I think you're going to have a load of headache around how you actually get this thing staffed. So high capital intensive, staffing issues. I think there's a level of creativity and refreshment that you're going to need to do, because kids are fickle. They move on from things. It's incredibly trend driven. And I think to keep kids entertained with thematic parties like princess parties stuff would be really quite challenging. That's just for a starter.
I think this is. I'll answer those three things. This is a classic case of you just know nothing about it. So you're right about the capital. I'll give you the capital one because that's not a But where you think warehouse space in Southend is expensive? It is not. Like that's not going to be. It will be expensive to kit it. I get that's true. You're going to have to spend 50 to 100,000 probably to kit it. I accept that. Kids move on from parties. I mean, you just haven't been to any. They're shit. So yes, but like you think they think they're going to move on from princesses?
I mean, I think so.
You think no? They're just the same shit. They're not going to move on princesses. They're not going to move on from dinosaurs. That theme is there, and at the moment it's delivered so badly. You don't need to change it too much.
The delivery of that is,
So look, that's not that. I don't agree with that. I do agree with staff is definitely, that's a really good point, and that what you need to. But most children's entertainers are absolute shit. Like to the point that I would definitely think, I would say if you came and did a kids party with 30 minutes practice up front, you'd be better than like 90% of the entertainers I've seen. And for a lot of the case, in these parties, they're not going to do that much entertaining. They're just going to be like a host and do games and stuff. But it's a good point. The way that we're going to solve that is we are going to get local students and we're going to train them.
Yeah, super reliable, yep. Okay.
And, well, no, because it can be done, because in Southend, they have Adventure Island, which you drove past. Looked nice.
I did try. I mean, the world revolves around Southend. I'm glad we're only starting this children's party business in Southend.
Southend is your starting zone. Lots of. But what they do is they recruit sixth formers from the local schools, and like honestly, they're really good. They manage the rides and they G up the kids, and they're like a really big part of the.
This is almost as bad as selling Scandinavian holidays on Southend High Street. I personally think this is just utterly riddled with going to be a shit show. You want to employ 18-year-old students who've just been, out and about on their VW Wickeds or whatever it's called, and you want them to go and entertain a bunch of 30-year-old kids where the parents have dropped £500 to come to an industrial unit in Southend, and they're going to be super happy with that service. Oh, I did. Let's also say you're going to serve them healthy options. All these kids want on their birthdays pizzas and burgers because they don't get it any other time. And you're like, sorry, kiddo, you're not going to get that. Here's some hummus and some carrots. That hummus is going to hit that 18-year-old's face faster than you know. It's going to be carnage. Total carnage.
Do you know what the mistake you've made? The mistake you've made is 18-year-olds don't drink alcohol anymore, so they're going to be fine.
They don't.
They just go to the gym.
They do, yeah. Okay.
So they're ready to. Those guys are ready to go.
Doesn't mean the kids are going to like hummus with carrots. It's going to get launched.
We're going to go for pizza, but it's just going to be a slightly more organic cheese on the pizza.
Yeah, sourdough. I don't know if that's any better. It's slightly posher. But,
so,
okay.
So I agree. This is what I think.
Utterly shit idea.
I agree that it's hard to implement, but it once you have that facility, once you have it, there is no doubt, none, that if you market this even 2 out of 10, you are booked out for.
How many parties can you do a day?
You're 100% capacity.
Bear in mind, you can only work at weekends during term times. So how many parties can you? I suppose you could do after school. How long do these parties run for? Hour and a half, 2 hours?
They're 2 hours. Yeah,
then you got cycles, so you probably do 3 a day.
You can do more than 3 a day, but you're right that it's weekends. It's also school holidays. You can do them after school, but that is pretty rare. They tend to prefer to ruin your weekend.
Right. Let me ask you this then. What are you going to use your £100,000 space for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week? What about corporate events? Just like the Bear With Me team are over from South Africa, and we've gone to soft play. Calvin's all up in the ball pit, you know.
Well, look, I know that you denigrate Southend, but at Kids Kingdom in Southend, they do that. They have a soft play that you can rent out as a group of adults.
I'm sure. But seriously, what you can do, that's a totally empty space, isn't it? For 30 hours,
empty
35
space,
hours
but
a week.
like you're going to focus on weekend margin. It's like a nightclub. It's not worry about what it's doing in the day. You could just open it as a general purpose venue, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think you make this an exclusive, the party venue in Southend for under nines.
Do you know what I would do? During the week, I would make it a co-working space.
Oh, it's just no. Fuck. No one wants to.
Could you imagine that? I've spent so much time in a WeWork where all these startup people do is just play table tennis. Just imagine just racking around a soft play just to take your mind off doing actually no work. Be amazing.
I think
there's something, Doug. There's something. Co-working, children's play hybrid. Let's get that pitched to some angels.
We're gonna make you're gonna make 400,000-500,000 a year turnover. You're gonna do 20%, 30% margin, right? And then once you've got model 1,
it's got to be an easier way to make 100 to 150 grand. I'm sorry, without a fucking headache and a subscription to ibuprofen and paracetamol.
And then once you've got 1, boom, you're franchising that. You've got 200 venues in the UK: Southend, Bradford, Darlington. It's the kids venue. I mean, you're absolutely right. I would rather run a dry cleaners than do this. But
yeah. Well, listen,
I do genuinely believe that it is a good business model for somebody that likes children, that is interested in this kind of thing, and that it's got a little bit of marketing now. I think this could be a great business for someone because you can make 150,000 a year. I think it'd be fairly hands off once you've got the infrastructure in place. Yeah. You're unconvinced. I think the problem you've got. I agree with your concerns, and I wouldn't do it. But you haven't done the circuit. You come back to me.
Damn right, I haven't done this. Right, okay.
You fucking come back to me.
I'll do the circuit when there's a mini Rich running around, and I'll be like, I'll tell you what, Doug, I love these so much. I definitely want to get into it.
It's like, look, this thing, brick and mortar cash machine. It is a brick and mortar cash machine. And look, I know we're not tapping fucking numbers into a screen that you love, but out there in the warehouses of Southend, there is a cash machine waiting to be built, and that is it.
This is Southend. Yeah, okay, I can see the viral marketing that you're going to push out for this shit. All right, okay. Well, let's tie that pod there. Thank you very much for bringing a completely and utterly stressful dog shit idea to the pod. If you've been listening to this, you're thinking, shit, I need to subscribe because there are some money makers of these two. Please do so and like below. And thank you very much, Doug. I'm going to go and jump out the window. Cheers, mate.